everyone. Welcome to the Cynthia Linox Show. I am your host, Cynthia Linox. Now, you remember last week I mentioned that we were going to have a guest on the show, and his name is Kelvin Wilson. I have known Kelvin for some time, and his trajectory, his journey, has been similar to mine in terms of a journey of self discovery. Now, Kelvin was a former pastor many years ago and came to the knowledge of himself and his truth having to do with organized religion. Of course, he was part of a Christian order, religious order. So um, that's where he is exiting from. And with that, of course, he has shown exponential growth in terms of getting to know who he is, discovering his identity, or really unfolding, remembering, going back to that place that he once knew. And one of the things that I admire of Calvin is that he exudes such joy, but at the same time, firm determination to show or to share, I should say, his story of unfolding, of coming out of that place of performative living and so forth, where we or he has found the freedom to just be himself and so forth. So, with no further ado, I'm going to introduce Kelvin Wilson. And Kelvin, welcome to the program. And we just really want to hear from you. You know, I mentioned to you earlier that we're not doing anything that's scripted because I like things that are authentic and organic. So that's kind of how we're going to flow. If you can just share with us your experience and your journey, and then we will just kind of go back and forth as we uncover certain things. And I know that we have an audience that struggles with the truth or even coming out simply because a lot of what we know is fear based, and fear of being ostracized, fear of being excommunicated, and so forth. So anyway, we empathize with that, but at the same time, we are going to share as free as we are. So Kelvin, tell us about your journey when it started and what brought you out of that place from pastoring.
Well, first of all, let me say that I am honored to share the stage with you, Cynthia. I'm appreciative for giving me the opportunity to to share my story. Um, I've been, like I said, I've been away from the pastoral role for quite a few years now, and it's been a journey. And all of my life, I feel as though I have been on a journey. I've always been very inquisitive as a very young man, as a child. Let me just say, I got my behind tore up because simply because I was very curious. I was taking my appliances apart at the house because I wanted to know how they worked. I was always challenging my father's authority, not out of being rebellious, but I just couldn't fit into those boxes that
Okay.
they tried to put me into. Uh,
Okay.
but I was just a inquisitive child.
Okay.
So and then I got into the religious thing. I think I was maybe about 17 years of age when I first was introduced to it, and of course I fell in love with it. Of course, my dad tried to force me to go to church, and I'll never let me just tell this one story. He told me, because I didn't really want to go at first. He told me, "I better see you in church."
Now, was he pastoring as well? Or
No, 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 no.
oh,
My,
he
my
just was a church goer and
He was
avid.
a churchgoer, yes, and
Okay.
he was, trying to steer his kids in what he believed to be the way to go.
Right.
But he told me that I better see you in church.
Okay.
Well, I drug my feet and drug my feet and drug my feet, and I had to walk to church, maybe about 6 or 7 blocks.
Okay.
And He said, I better see you there. Well, I knew they got out of church at 1 o'clock.
One
I knew
o'clock.
they got out of church at 1 o'clock. I think
Wow.
I
Okay.
think I think I showed up about 12:45 and
Oh,
made sure he saw me there.
oh, that is too funny.
but but my journey, Cynthia, my journey has been a journey, and it is still a journey. I am on a journey of discovery, and a lot of the things that I heard as I sat on church pews didn't make any sense to me.
Okay.
As a child, they just didn't make any sense to me.
Right. I
And
can relate.
and I've got all kinds of study Bibles and study books and concordances and Hebrew and Greek and all of this stuff that I started to search, and I started to search, and I started to pay close attention to the words even that Jesus spoke. And I realized that they didn't coincide with what I was hearing coming from pulpits today.
Oh,
So
okay.
so I just started paying close
Mm.
attention to the
Yeah.
words that he spoke. And everything that he spoke was talking about what was inside of me, what was
Mm.
inside. The kingdom was being inside.
Right.
So I,
Right.
like I
Right.
said, so I just started to, because everything that I had learned pretty much had me looking at myself as though I was this bad person. I was,
Oh, yeah.
religion got you thinking you was born this way. You were born
Right.
broken. And
Right.
I'm like, I'm scratching my head. Wait a minute. I was born this way. How did that happen? And then my mother always told me, she said, every tub is going to sit on its own bottom. Okay. What does that mean? That means that you're going to be judged for what you do. And I'm like, okay, then why am I being judged for what Adam did?
Right.
if
That, yeah,
yeah,
it's a valid
yeah,
question.
yeah, why am I being judged? Why, if how is it possible that I'm having to pay for what somebody did that came way before I did? So,
Right.
long story short, I began to just, I said, this makes no sense. So I turned my back on all of that stuff. I turned my back on all that stuff. And then I heard a minister friend of mine saying that you can't turn your back on God because God is everywhere. So even if I turn around, I'm still facing God.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So all of this stuff just started to, it just started to unfold inside of me until I came to understand, like I said, the words that were spoken through even scriptures, they pointed me to myself, to what was inside of me.
Okay.
And I began to realize that who I was and what I was not what religion told me I was.
So you knew that from way back.
Oh yes, I knew that from, yeah, way back. A lot of things I actually got kicked out of churches for some of the things that I ministered when I was there. Because
Hmm.
I'm not the type person that can pretend.
Right.
And if I see something a certain way, I'm going to say how I see it. I'm going to speak my truth.
Right.
I'm going to speak it the way that I see it.
Right.
And of course, organized religion doesn't want you to do that. They want you
No.
to say what they want you to say, and they're going to monitor everything you say. And
Right.
like
And
I said,
accept
once
everything as right.
yeah, yeah. So, but in order to stay in that, like you said, you've got to deny everything that you are feeling, everything that you are thinking
Yes.
within your. You've got
Yes.
to turn away and deny all of that,
Right.
and
Right.
that causes internal conflict.
Oh gosh.
That
Yes.
Yeah, that
Absolutely.
causes internal conflict, and that was just something that, when I say it this way, I left church for the same reason that a baby leaves the womb. It outgrows its environment.
It's
I
environment. Wow, that's a
Yes,
good analogy. Yeah.
I outgrew that environment. Now I still love the people that are there, and my heart's desire is to say something perhaps that will spark some growth or some thought in them,
Right.
to make them recognize who they are as well.
Right.
So it's been a journey. It's been a journey, and it's still, like I said, it still is a journey. It's still a journey.
Now, unlike you, you said that you were, well, I guess your dad
Hmm.
was churched. And of course, they're going to pass down because a lot of uh, people that are involved in religion
Mhm.
uh, have inherited religion.
Mhm.
And I know when I talk to people and when we have these dialogue, most people don't know why they believe what they believe.
Mhm.
And you press and press, and they would
Can't
insist,
answer it.
and
Mhm.
they just cannot answer it because they don't know. They said, well, that's what we've always believed. And
Mhm.
my mother taught me so, my parents, my grandparents, my great
Mhm.
grandparents, and so forth. So it's all inherited belief. Of course,
Yes.
there's a great awakening right now of people
Yes.
that are waking up, and
Mhm.
especially this generation,
Mhm.
Gen Z and millennials, and
Mhm.
they're waking up and
Mhm.
asking questions.
Mhm.
It's been 17 years for my husband and I
Mhm.
since we left religion, and
Mhm.
we have learned so many things. One of the things that we have learned is that we don't need religion at all. As a matter of
Right.
fact, our lives have grown exponentially,
Yes.
just blown
Yes.
up in such a positive way that
Yes.
our moral values, because we don't get our morals from neither from the Bible or church. That's just
Right.
not the place to get your moral, because when you read the whole Bible, there's some gruesome things in there that don't even want to, if you're honest with yourself.
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
and our thing is, we treat people with kindness, and we make sure that
Mhm.
we don't our freedom ends where, if we're going to infringe on someone else's freedom. So we
Mhm.
try not to infringe on someone else's freedom, someone else's truth, and we are
Mhm.
respectful.
Mhm.
uh but
Mhm.
but all the things that, you can't do this, you can't do that, don't be unequally yoked, don't do this,
Mhm.
we are just beyond all of that,
Yeah.
because what truth we know is that
Mhm.
that path is so
Mhm.
performative.
Yes.
It's a
Yes.
performance. It's not authentic, and that's
Right.
what's lacking. Authenticity. I have, I know someone that when that person gathers with, and everybody's having a glass of wine, they want it so much, but in their
Mhm.
mind, they're
Mhm.
not supposed to. And then they would say, "Yeah, I'll have a little." Then I said, "No, no, I better not."
Mhm.
That again is
Mhm.
denying your
Them.
true nature,
Exactly.
what you really desire. And if they put it under the umbrella of sin or
Mhm.
not following and so forth, but I don't get into all of that, because again, I we remain respectful. But
Mhm.
as far as the growth, what do you see now? Because I know, like this program, there's so many people that respond, and
Mhm.
I had one person, well, more than one, said, I can't reveal my identity because I don't want to be ostracized. I don't want to
Mhm.
be judged. I don't want to be shamed. I don't want
Mhm.
to be criticized for following, um, a path that doesn't line up with the word. But I
Mhm.
love the show. I'm growing and so forth. So they're like closet, you
Yep.
know,
Yep.
they're in the closet,
Th-
and it's just
There
sad because it's all fear.
there
Have
are
you had that
people.
experience with people?
Yes. There are people that like what I post, but they don't put it on Facebook or anywhere else to say they like what I post. But they'll see me somewhere and they say, "I really enjoy what you post." But I
Yeah.
realize why they won't like it because they got people that they don't want to see them liking what I post.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that mindset to me is like a person trying to wear a pair of shoes that's two sizes too small. It's very uncomfortable. And like you said,
Right.
there's no authenticity there. If I'm not being authentic, I mean, I can remember years ago thinking to myself, life is meant to be enjoyed. And if I
Right.
can't
This life.
enjoy it, yes, if I can't enjoy it, something's wrong. I mean, to me,
Right.
that is the true definition of sin is to miss the point of life. Life is to
Right.
be enjoyed. And the only way that you're going to enjoy it is by being authentic, being true to yourself, not
Right.
true to not true to what somebody else told you to be true to, not true to somebody's religious ideology, but you've got to know exactly who you are. And
Right.
the idea that I am this horrible, being that, like I said, I see an explosion of people starting to wake up. And I remember seeing it in my own children. Me trying to force them to go the way that I went because I was forced to go. And like you were saying, oftentimes people can't explain to you why they believe what they believe.
Exactly. Yes.
And the way that the way that I remember how this I was awakened to this idea when I work for Mercedes Benz, and I've been there going on 30 years. But
Hmm.
I work in a department where we are responsible for programming components inside the vehicle. And I'll never forget, one day I thought about this. There was this one component went inside the vehicle that was called a central gateway, a EZS, a central
Right.
gateway. But
Right.
we had like a box of those parts. And I'm thinking to myself, all of these parts were neutral. They were all neutral. But once we put them in the vehicle, the equipment that we use determined where that vehicle was going, and it programmed it accordingly. Going back to what you were saying about how we are born neutral. But if I had been born over in some other country,
Right.
chances are I wouldn't have been a Christian. I,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I would have been Buddhist or Hindu or or a Muslim because of the actual place that I was born at. I
Geographics. Yes.
Exactly. So so I began to realize that when I looked at that box of parts, I said, we humans are just like this.
Right.
Who the question is who programmed you?
Right.
Who was responsible for programming us? And they get a hold to our programming at a small age when we're small. And it start
Absolutely.
hmm
And the thing that I think of now that I am authoring my
hmm
life, I
hmm
believe in authorship,
hmm
authoring your identity. You
hmm
determine, you decide
Yes.
who you want to be, what you want to be, and that,
Yes.
of course, is based on few things like your personality, your likes, your
hmm
dislikes, your all of that, and
hmm
you decide.
Yes.
But if
Yes.
you don't decide,
hmm
Kelvin, what happens is that, and if you're following a script,
hmm
guess what?
hmm
You are following someone else's script. And that's what I
Yes.
try to get across. Because if you give me a script based on what you wrote,
hmm
and it has to do with your own mindset, your own
hmm
thinking, all of your
hmm
emotions, your feelings, and all of that, and you give me that script to follow,
hmm
that's not me.
Nope.
That's not
Nope.
me. And not only that, why would I think that you have whatever elements that's
hmm
required
hmm
and I don't have it?
hmm
Whatever
Yeah.
elements it has for you to be able to
hmm
create something,
hmm
and why should I not have it? Now,
hmm
if there's a universal God, then and according to the written word, he's no respecter of people. So
hmm
if you put all of those things together, again, I'm not a Bible person. I
hmm
was, but no
hmm
longer. I don't really attune to that anymore. But why should I give more credence to what you write as opposed to
hmm
what I author?
hmm
And my experience since we left, because when I was in religion, and it was
hmm
me more so than my husband. As a matter of fact, my husband is the one that came a point and he said, "I'm done. I am done with this." No, yeah, with this path, and
he,
he
he said he's
forced.
had enough.
Yeah, he said that this is just not living, and
hmm
we just stepped away. We took a sabbatical from church, and we just never went back because
hmm
there was no need to go back. We didn't need all that. We didn't need any of it.
hmm
And but when I author uh, uh, my life,
hmm
the things that we have experienced have been so exceptional.
hmm
Why? Because
hmm
you author it based on who you are,
hmm hmm
your likes,
hmm
your standards,
hmm
your boundaries,
hmm
your things that you will your non-negotiables
Mm-hmm.
and all of that. It's based on your
Mm-hmm.
standards. So when that is, what happens is that it opens
Mm-hmm.
the universe,
Universe. Mm-hmm.
life, to
Mm-hmm.
respond to
On
that,
to you. Yes.
because it's
Yes.
authentic, it's organic.
Yes.
and
Yes.
and what it's done to me, it has aligned me
Mm-hmm.
with the things that I desire, and then it
Mm-hmm.
just unfolds to me. That really has been our experience,
And
and
you
that's
start to
why.
you start to blossom. You start to
Exactly.
blossom when you are being authentic, when you are being yourself. Happiness now is not something that you're working for.
No, no.
It's because you are living your truth.
Right,
You're living from the center of your being. It's
right,
kind of, yeah, I've oftentimes noticed how plants grow. Plants grow from within. The growth happens within.
right.
And when you are being authentic, when you are being real, it's like
Yeah,
everything starts to just flow for you.
right,
Automatically. You don't have to work for it.
right.
It
Yes,
flows, it just flows to you because
right.
you've cleared out the blockages, which were all
Yes,
here. They were here.
yes, right. All the misaligned
Yes, yes,
obstructions,
yes.
all the things that just didn't fit, and all the
Mm-hmm.
things that were not authentically
You.
yours.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You clear that path, and then becomes a flow. There was a
Mm-hmm.
season in on this show where I talk about the soft life, and the
Mm-hmm.
soft life has to do with really getting rid of the grind, getting rid
Mm-hmm.
of the hustle culture, and
Mm-hmm.
getting rid of the forceful. I've got
Mm-hmm.
to make this happen. I got to manifest this. I have to manage.
Mm-hmm.
It's you just get rid of that mindset,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
you make a decision. A lot of it I find is that when I make a decision
Mm-hmm.
is when again I begin to author what
Mm-hmm.
it is that I'm
Mm-hmm.
deciding about,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and
You
with that opens a gate of freedom.
yeah. Yes. Yes. It's like you've gathered yourself. You've
Right.
gathered yourself, and you've evicted all of the
That's
voices.
a good word.
Yeah,
Yes.
you've evicted all of the voices that was pulling you in this direction and that direction. You tell them you've
Right.
got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to be this, you've got to be that, and you
Yeah.
find out, wait a minute, no, I don't. No, once you discover that your essence,
Yes.
your very essence is the life force that creates it all.
Yes.
Once you
Absolutely.
discover that and learn how to wield that through consciousness,
Right.
life opens up for you. Y-
Yeah.
it opens up for you. And
The thought also that I have encountered with some people is that this life is only temporary.
mm-hmm,
Now, that's the biggest fallacy, I can assure you, simply because
mm-hmm,
people that talk about the afterlife,
mm-hmm,
they never died.
mm-hmm. Right,
You know, there are
right,
people
right.
that are still alive. So that's another thing. Why would I believe you with that
Uh-huh.
doctrine, with that ideology, with that philosophy? Why would I believe you and not myself?
Mm-hmm,
What is it about you that
mm-hmm,
that's going to make me believe and start fashioning, or guiding my life, waiting for an afterlife
mm-hmm.
to for my enjoyment, with all
I
the
think
benefits.
I think that speaks volumes to how much a person is aware of who they are. That I've got to attach myself to somebody else's beliefs in order to feel good about myself, or in order to, it's kind of like, as a pastor, I remember talking about how I actually held the Bible up one time, and I said, this book didn't fall out of the sky. I said, men wrote this. I said, and they had what they believed was a connection with divinity, and they wrote it. I said, do you not realize that the same connection they had with divinity is yours as well? Why do you believe more in what they wrote and what they said and have no confidence in what's coming out of you? You've
Now
got
I
to.
know they dismiss you from church, right? I mean, that's just not the way you preach, Kelvin.
Well, that's probably why I'm not pastoring anymore.
Right, because the thought is that the Bible is the inherent word of God.
Yeah, yeah. I see. I
And
have a problem with that. I told my nephew a couple of weeks ago. I said, "You still believe that?" I said, "But no, I don't. I don't." I said, I'm gonna tell you what scripture I get it from. I said, "Out of your belly shall flow rivers of living water." It comes
yeah,
from within you. It's in
right,
you. I said, "You're
right.
drinking." I said, "You're drinking from you're drinking from a dead pool." That's that's a it's dead letter. I said, "The life force is in you. It flows from within you." And that's hard for people to to grasp when all they've known is that lifestyle.
Right, but you see, to believe that, Kelvin,
Hmm.
um, it makes you responsible.
Yes,
You become responsible for
yes,
yourself. And
yes, yes.
that's not a road that people want to
they,
go down. They don't want
they,
to take, they don't want to be responsible for themselves and
hmm,
or be accountable.
hmm,
Because
hmm,
when something happens,
hmm.
when something bad happens, there is someone to blame.
Yep.
When
And when
something
something good happens,
good happens,
yes, yes,
they are totally uh
they're free from any
removed.
responsibility.
Yeah, they are totally removed
Hmm.
and have outsourced
Hmm.
any kind of critical thinking skills, any
Hmm.
kind of assessment, any kind of processing.
Hmm.
They have outsourced all of that, and
Yes.
they give tribute for, and that's why it's
Hmm.
hard for some people to acknowledge their skills, their
Hmm.
expertise, their
Hmm.
abilities, their talent. It's just
Hmm.
hard for people to acknowledge, and it's like, wait a minute, no, I did this, I put
Yes.
in work,
Yes.
and there's
Yes.
nothing
You
wrong with
did that.
that. And
Yes.
if there is some deity that takes offense to that, then
Hmm.
that's a little deity. I mean,
Exactly.
no, I mean, really, really, I
Yes.
mean, who's gonna? You're a father. Just
Yeah.
imagine your kid come home and say, "Dad, look what I did. You know, I
Hmm.
won the championship," and you're gonna get mad because he didn't give you the honor and the glory.
No.
You're gonna
No.
say, "That's my son," and
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
you are gonna really
Yeah.
help him
Exactly.
to, receive his
Boasting
accolades.
his accomplishments. Exactly.
Right? Exactly.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
So that's what happens. In order for you to author your
Hmm.
life, in order for you
Hmm.
to author your identity, you
Hmm.
must be responsible. You must be accountable.
Hmm.
You must
Hmm.
make decisions about things. You must
Hmm.
be courageous because when you start doing that, you're going to be set apart.
Hmm.
You're going to be set
Hmm.
apart because that's not the norm, especially if you are in a community of
Hmm.
like-minded people
Hmm.
that are the same
Hmm.
doctrinal influence,
Hmm.
and that is not easy to do.
Nope. No. Cynthia, I can, as I think back how when I call it the left foot of fellowship.
Okay.
When they kicked me out of the church, I can't, I remember how several people actually started to shun me, like I had leprosy or something,
Wow.
you
Yeah.
know. Uh, but and that was it was hurtful. But like I said, that's been years ago now. It's been years ago now.
Okay.
So now it doesn't bother me the fact that I've
Right.
got people that will shun me, or but at the same time I recognize there is an audience that listens and hears what I'm saying. Just like with you, there are people that probably will never come to you, but you are giving them what I call breadcrumbs. They are finding themselves through the words that you are saying. They are finding the courage,
Right.
you
Right.
know, to what I call to think outside the book.
Right. Oh yeah, that's good. You didn't think outside the box, just think outside the book. That's good. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, it's been rewarding. I can honestly say it's been rewarding. The peace of mind that I've had, and to me, that is the most treasured thing that you can find in flesh and blood is peace of mind.
Exactly. Yes.
Peace of mind. Life takes on a whole new meaning when you
Yes.
can walk out and you're not looking for a bolt of lightning to hit you because you thought a certain way.
Right.
you know,
Right. Right.
it's just it's amazing to me.
Well, the thing that I think of when I think of this whole journey of mine is that not only do I have the ability to think,
Mm-hmm.
but I can process my thoughts.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
thoughts becomes feelings,
Mm-hmm.
feelings
Mm-hmm.
become emotion, and
Mm-hmm.
emotion becomes behavior,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it affects every area of your
Yes.
life.
Yes.
Why? Because it is intentional.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
is intentional. My husband and I, we have a lot of conversations, and like we talk about our relationship and so forth. And we were some folks renewed their vows not too long ago, and we were kind of watching the video and so forth. And
Mm-hmm.
we remember that when we got married, we didn't do those vows because it didn't make any
Mm-hmm.
sense to
Mm-hmm.
me. For better, for worse, for richer, for poor. We didn't do that. That didn't make any sense to me at all because
Uh-huh.
um, it's so performative. I've seen
Mm-hmm.
women that are in abusive relationships,
Mm-hmm.
and they would say, "But I took vows. I took vows," so they wouldn't leave. They would
Mm-hmm.
say, "But I took vows. I made a vow to God," and they wouldn't leave. They would just stay in it because in their minds they
Mm-hmm.
must honor their vows.
Mm-hmm.
And as a matter of fact, one woman said, she said something like, "Unless it's for adultery," and then
Mm-hmm.
she was
Mm-hmm.
almost hoping that there would be adultery, so that would give her the license to leave the relationship. Mind you,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, that's really deep. Mind you, she was going through verbal, emotional, mental abuse,
Mm-hmm.
and just in such a an ugly way. But in her mind, she said, "For better, for worse,"
Mm-hmm.
and she would not move from that position, from that
Mm-hmm.
mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I don't try to influence people. I just try to find out what makes them think that way. Because what
Mm-hmm.
happens is that you, again, right there again, you deny yourself. You
Yes.
deny what
Yes.
you really want to perform
Mm-hmm.
according to a script.
Mm-hmm.
What
And
a
who
script,
are- and who is it that you're trying to please by doing that?
right?
Who is it that you are trying to please by
Right.
sticking to this script that's got you miserable?
Yeah.
I mean, if there was a God and he saw my misery
Right. Right.
and you want me to stay in this misery?
But the thing is also, if you, one of the things that I did um, when I left and
Mhm.
took on this path, I went back and did a lot of research as to
Mhm.
where did this come from, and then of
Yes.
course I realized that this was like a political move by the Roman
Mhm.
Empire.
Mhm.
This was
Mhm.
politics, trying to,
Mhm.
because everybody was they needed to get everyone under control. They
Yes.
wanted to
Yes.
control and manipulate. So
Yes.
the Council of Nicaea, I'm sure you're familiar with it, and
Mhm.
it wasn't all in one. It was
Mhm.
at different
Mhm.
time periods.
Yes.
And
Yes.
they would take this book and they would take another book. And that's why there's so many contradictions.
Mhm. Mhm.
No one, this person had his take, and
Mhm.
this person had his take, and this
Mhm.
one had this mindset, this one had
Mhm.
a different view. And that's why
Mhm.
it is so incongruent. It's everybody has a different take. And these are mere human, but what they
yes.
need to do was to bring the population together and
Mhm.
have them controlled,
Controlled. Yes.
controlled. And
Yes.
when you realize that it
Yes.
comes from man and
Yes.
not from any divine uh, being and so forth, then you understand that it's not, you would start questioning, why do I have to follow this? And it
When
does
I
make sense.
when I first heard someone made this statement, I think I read it somewhere that when they said that the Bible was not the word of God, but it was the word of man about God.
Right.
When I first heard that, I didn't accept it right away, but I didn't toss it out either. I didn't accept it, but I didn't toss it away. I began to ponder that. And then I started to recognize all of the, all of the inconsistencies, all of the
Right.
all of the stuff that just didn't make any sense to me.
Right. Right.
And like I said, once I recognized the stronghold, if you please, that it had on me mentally,
Right.
once I recognized that, I began to shake myself from that. And I began to think critically about how my mind had been hijacked by men
Yes.
for the mere purpose of controlling me.
Right.
So, like you said, once you realize that, like I said, you can't, you couldn't get me back into that stuff.
But it
You
takes an
couldn't.
element of taking accountability, and that
Yeah,
is not easy, because
no,
it's easy to say the devil did that. We
yep.
haven't mentioned devil, Satan, Lucifer, for 17 years. That's not even part of our
I feel, hey, I feel,
lexicon.
I,
That's
I feel you there. I remember a preacher that he was one of the ones that I think I've mentioned to you before. He was one that saw a whole lot more than he ever preached. But
yeah.
he told me before I ever began to really awaken. He said I stopped fighting devils. He said no. He said once I stopped fighting devils, I never had a devil to fight.
That's a good one. That's a good way
He
to
said
put it.
he
Yeah,
said
that's true.
once I stopped fighting devils, I never had a devil to fight. And then I picked that up and I began to grasp it and I began to recognize, I began to realize all of this stuff is flowing through me. All of this is
Yeah,
flowing through me. These are just different levels of consciousness, different levels of
of
awarenesses that's
consciousness. Yes,
flowing through me. So if
yes.
there be a devil, if there's a devil to fight, you're looking at him.
Yeah, right, right.
If there's an angel, you're looking at
Yes,
him. If there's
yes.
a God, if there's a God, if there's a devil, all of that stuff are just levels of consciousness that
That's
flows
flowing
through us.
through you.
Yes, that's flowing through
Yeah,
us. And if you don't understand, how this creative energy, that's what you are. That's who you are.
yes,
But
yes.
and I remember years ago, it came to me like you were saying, the simple word processing information.
Right.
Processing information. When I began to learn how to process information, how to critically think for myself,
Right.
how to take back the
Yeah,
reins of my ability to just think for myself. You
exactly.
know,
Authorship. Yeah,
authorship.
yeah.
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
begin to
And
author your own script.
yes,
And
yes.
I have found that my life, or our lives, has become so sweet, because
Mm-hmm.
the things that we imprint
Mm-hmm.
and create in the registry of our minds,
Mm-hmm.
they're
Mm-hmm.
things that we really want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A good life,
Mm-hmm.
a good relationships,
Mm-hmm.
within our community, good
Mm-hmm.
experiences and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And that just seems to, good health.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of
Mm-hmm.
the things that we, for us, we are so mindful of those
Mm-hmm.
things, and think in those terms,
Mm-hmm.
when sometimes a doctor would say, or people, when they have all these ailments, and they would
Mm-hmm.
always say to us, so what's with you guys, like, what don't you have anything, and they would
Mm-hmm.
say that. And
Mm-hmm.
then in their dialogue, because we don't engage in all that stuff, they would say,
Mm-hmm.
well, that's what do they call it, age-related disease, and things
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like that. Those are all not only cliches, but those are all thoughts that you
Mm-hmm.
accept, you receive, and
Mm-hmm.
you run with it.
Yes.
You own
Yes.
it. And
Mm-hmm.
then what happens? It
It
reveals it.
becomes a part of you. Yes.
Exactly,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. But if you
You know,
think, go ahead.
Teddy Pendergrass came out with a song years ago. Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. No more backwards thinking. Time for thinking ahead. The world has changed so very much from what it used to be. And he
Hmm.
said, all we've got to do is put it in our minds. Surely things will work out. They do it every time. When we recognize that life flows through
Yeah.
us, it
Yes.
flows through us.
Yes.
And uh your thinking, the quality of your thoughts is going to determine the quality of your life.
Absolutely. I
The,
believe in that
the
100%.
quality, yeah, the
Yes.
quality
I
of your
know that.
thinking is going to determine the quality of your life.
Right.
And I'm here to tell you, religion just doesn't give you quality thinking.
No, no,
it,
well,
it doesn't it doesn't even allow you to think.
to think, not at all. And when you think, because everyone, I mean, there was a time that I thought I was a sinner. I didn't even know what
Hmm.
sin was,
Hmm.
because I grew up, well, I didn't, we went to Catholic school, but in my
Hmm.
household it wasn't like religious.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I became conscious of sin when I
Hmm.
got into an evangelical Christian walk. And
Hmm.
well, before that, I didn't, just like my husband, he wasn't conscious of sin at all. He
Hmm.
he didn't grow
Hmm.
up with that mindset. And so you have a predetermined
Hmm.
doom in life before you even
Hmm.
get started,
Hmm. Yeah.
you know
Yeah. And they
before
tell you
you
you're born that way. You're born a sinner according to religion. You're
exactly.
born that way. So if I
Yeah.
am born this way, I'm looking at it from this perspective. A peach is a peach. An apple is an apple. So
Right,
if I come from the tree being a peach, I'm gonna always be a peach.
right, right.
There are no magical words to turn an apple into a peacher or
Yeah,
your plum, you know. And I guess what I'm getting at now is the sinner's prayer that we pray, and all of a sudden now you're saved, and that
right.
all of that stuff just
Ah,
forces people to perform and to, it forces people to perform and act like there's something that they're not.
that they're not. Yes, it's
Just
it's
just
it's
be authentic, be real. I'll never forget. I was in Florida, and there was I was at a, I was there was a revival meeting I was at, and this woman, she came in, she was drunk, she was sloppy drunk, but she came in and she ran up to the front of the church and she said, "Pray for me, preacher, pray for me, preacher." She said, pray for me." And I'll never forget, I said, that woman was more real because she came and she's, "I'm not going to change who I am." She said, this is me. She
right,
was, to me, she was just being real. She
right.
wasn't performing. And probably if I had smelled the breath of some of the ones that were sitting in church, they probably had a nip too. But but just being real, being authentic, being real. Stop hiding who you are and just be real. And
Yeah,
just
but in
be
order to
yourself.
stop hiding who you are,
You
it
got to
starts
know,
with knowing who you are.
knowing who you are.
And I, even though I grew up, confident, because my
Hmm.
dad told me something when I was a lot younger, and he said, "You deserve a good life. You deserve the
Hmm.
best." And my dad, and I've kept that, and
Hmm.
always believed that.
Hmm.
And I've always had a sense of self, and
Hmm.
it was taken away when I went, when I became
Hmm.
doctoral and so forth. And so to go back to discover or to remember who I was,
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
wasn't really a lot of work.
Hmm.
It was
The
decision.
seed had already been planted there.
Exactly.
When your
Exactly.
father told you that you deserve what you deserve, and you held on to that.
Yes. Yeah. And he meant that. And he's a
Yeah.
mere man. And the same way
Hmm.
I held on to it, I owned it. And
Hmm.
until this day, I
Hmm.
that's how I live.
Hmm. Hmm.
And yeah, you have to know who you are. And that's
Hmm.
the biggest that's just the biggest issue with people today, they don't know, and you, but you can't tell somebody you don't know who you are, because I know who I am. And
Hmm.
somebody said, well, I'm the righteousness of God in Christ and whatever, and it's
They
you're
they
not.
don't know what they don't know what that means.
Exactly.
Have no
Yeah,
clue what that means. If they
exactly.
only understood that your essence, your essence cannot be defiled.
Right.
Your essence cannot be defiled.
Right.
Who you are cannot be defiled.
Yes.
I I I used to say it this way. Um, this physical being that I manifest through
Right.
uh, is kind of like light that passes through a film. Light passes through a film
Right.
and projects onto the wall. This is the way I tried to explain this at church once. I said, you see how this light is passing through this projector and it's placed on the screen? I said, now, whatever film I put in this projector is going to show on the screen. I
Right.
said, now, if I want to change what shows up on the screen, I got to change the film. I
Right.
said, you are not the film and you are not the projector. You
Right.
are the light. The light is the light is pure. You
Yeah.
are pure. I said, but what gets tainted is the film, the thoughts, your
Right.
mind.
Yes.
That's what gets tainted. And
Right.
if people can just come to understand, I remember Cynthia very young, that I began to realize that my governor, this is I am governed by my belief systems through
Yes.
life. I
Yes.
am governed by what I believe. And
Right.
whoever controls what I believe controls me.
Right.
So
Yes.
I've got to be able to take that back. I've got to
Yes.
be able to take that back. Take back the beliefs that have been embedded in me from childhood. Take back, like I said, when I was a child, I believed in Santa Claus. But
Right.
when I when I grew up, I realized, wait a minute, ain't no way in the world no fat man coming down that chimney. you know,
So give me my chocolate cookies and my milk.
exactly. So, getting to the place where we can actually, just sit back and analyze some of the stuff that we have been made to believe. If we can get to the place where, but that's a scary thing for a lot of people. I realize that's scary.
It is. It
It's a
is. It
scary
is.
place.
Because once you step out of this belief system, where do you
Hmm.
go? You have to
Exactly.
own it. You have to own it. You have
Exactly.
to understand
Exactly.
there is no devil when you lose
Hmm.
your job. No, just
Hmm.
get stepping and find another job. The
Yes.
devil didn't, break down your car. No,
Right.
that's
Right.
things happen.
Exactly.
You know,
Yes. Yes.
and then you have to take responsibility to,
Yes.
and trust yourself,
Yes.
because
Yes.
all the other, when you outsource
Hmm.
your mind,
Hmm.
then you put your trust in something else. That's
You
why
don't you don't know how to trust yourself, because
you
all of
don't.
your all of you, like you said, you've put that trust in somebody else.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you don't know how to rely on yourself, how to trust yourself. You know.
That's why when it comes to like health, I
Mm-hmm.
always tell people that your body is created, is designed to heal itself.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people that pray for health, but
Mm-hmm.
nothing changes,
Mm-hmm.
and they die anyway, or
Mm-hmm.
nothing changes, because
Mm-hmm.
if it did, we would spend a lot of time in St. Jude's or Children's Hospital, or all hospitals. But it's easier or
Mm-hmm.
comforting, more comforting, more than
Mm-hmm.
anything else, to trust, to outsource what you believe,
Mm-hmm.
to trust an outside force
Mm-hmm.
bring healing, other
Mm-hmm.
than, you know what, I need to fast.
Mm-hmm.
I need to make sure that I get
Mm-hmm.
quality sleep, so that
Mm-hmm.
my body can go through the repairs it needs and
Mm-hmm.
regenerate the cells. And I need to make sure that I'm eating uh,
Mm-hmm.
food that are
Mm-hmm.
nourishment to the
Mm-hmm.
cells, and
Mm-hmm.
all of that. That takes responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
It takes ownership. and all of that is it would be new to
Mm.
people.
You can't eat anything. I say it this way. Uh, you can't just eat anything and then expect to be healthy. Your body, your body takes the food that you put in it to rebuild yourself, to rebuild your
Right,
cells.
right,
Garbage in, garbage out.
right,
Garbage in, garbage out. I have this saying. I said we dig our grave with our teeth and don't even realize it. We dig our grave with our spoon and our forks
right,
and don't
right.
even realize it. We shorten our lifespan by putting stuff in our bodies, you know,
Yeah.
because
Yes.
because it tastes good. Just
Yes.
because now don't get me wrong, I like good food. I like good tasting food.
Yeah, I do
But
too. But
but
humanity,
sometimes exactly, sometimes taste can be like a Trojan horse.
right,
I mean, I like potato chips, but when you look at the ingredients and all the stuff that's involved in
right,
in processing that stuff,
right,
it might taste good, but it's breaking down my body. So then I've got to be responsible enough to eat the right things. If
right.
if I want health, if I want to restore my health, I've got to give my body what it needs to
Yes.
build it, to rebuild itself. And
Right.
like I said, all of this comes with becoming aware of
Yes.
just what you are doing to yourself. It's
Right.
not if all of a sudden I get sick because I ate something, it's not that the devil did anything to it. I
No.
did that to myself,
Poor guy.
you know.
It's a poor guy. You know, I mean, he's just blamed for everything that goes bad. And and
I, s- I saw a cartoon once that the devil was sitting. He was sitting, and he had his hand on his head, and he was reading. He said, "They're accusing me of doing everything. I didn't do none of this." Look."
yeah,
Yeah, but it's once we become responsible, able to respond
right,
properly.
right. And
Respond
not
able.
react, but respond to
Uh huh.
life, and life
Yes.
will respond to you.
Yeah.
You know, life,
What you what
when
you're
you're in
putting out.
alignment, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
What you're
Life,
putting out is going to come back
absolutely.
to you. I was
Yeah,
talking to a young man at work, and he was talking about something that somebody had done that that was not up on the up and up, and he was talking about he was going to do what I said. Listen, I said, understand something. I said, just because somebody does you wrong doesn't mean you got to turn around and do wrong by them. I said, because the energy that you're putting out, I said, just walk away. Just walk
right,
away. Don't
right,
don't put that negative energy out there because it's going to come back and bite you. I said,
right,
just walk away. Make sure that they understand that you know what they did, blah blah blah, but walk away.
right,
Be through with it.
right.
Be through with it.
As long as they don't hit you, because I'm not
Well,
about to turn the other cheek. I am not about to turn the other cheek.
no, no, no. Those days are over for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, they never existed because I just never bought into that. That doesn't make that's like, anyway, there's just so many things that doesn't make any sense, when it came to that. But yeah, I think what I am seeing now, I am
Hmm.
seeing an awakening. People
Yes.
that are waking up, and you see it a lot on
Hmm.
social media. People are
Hmm.
waking up to themselves, and
Hmm.
everyone is they express it differently, but
Yes.
but the point is that they are waking
Waking
up
up.
and
Yes. Yes.
questioning, and this whole
Yes.
new generation, this it's a whole new generation of not kids, but people that
Yeah.
are
Yes.
that are questioning, people that are think critical,
And
because
I
go ahead.
like the fact that they're questioning because that tells me that they're stirring up the part of the mind
Right,
that if I may, if I may, I'll use a spiritual analogy.
yeah,
Mary, Mary, the mother of Jesus. Now
right,
I'm talking spiritual here. I
right,
see, scientists teach us that we only use 8 to 10% of our brain, our mind. 8 to 10% of our brain.
10%, yes, yes,
So I've got 90% that's not even being used. I call that Mary. That's Mary.
Okay.
Mary, that's Mary.
Yeah.
That's the aspect that have never, that's the aspect that have never been, the thought, part of the mind that have never been touched by the thoughts, the theories, or the indoctrinations of man.
Right.
Never been touched by man.
Right.
But Mary, she had an encounter with something.
Okay.
She had an encounter with the spirit, and the spirit impregnated her. Now, once again, I'm talking spiritual here, not natural.
Okay.
When what's inside of you, when what's inside of you penetrates the part of your brain that's not been touched with the thoughts, the theories, or the understandings of man,
Right.
that's where new thought comes from. That's where
Mhm.
new understanding comes from. That's where what's called revelation comes from.
Okay.
To me, to be intelligent is to have an original thought, not to go around quoting what everybody else has always said.
Right.
But
Right.
intelligence to me is to be able to have an original thought of your own. And people ask me, well, how do you know what the thoughts that you're coming from or what you're getting? How do you know where they're coming from? How do you know it's of God? I said, how does it make me treat my fellow man? How does it make me treat my fellow man? I said, that's how I know. I said, here's another thing how I know. I said, when Mary told Joseph that she was pregnant and he know he didn't do it, the first thing he wanted to do was put her away.
Right.
I said, when man hear the things that are coming out of your mouth and he know that that's not something that he did, he will
Right.
put you away. He'll put you away. That's where the
Right.
left foot of fellowship came from for me. Because the
Yeah.
things that I was saying, it didn't come from the church. It didn't come from the bishop. It didn't come from the overseer. It didn't come from the higher, it flowed from within my own heart. I got acquainted with who I was. And I
Right.
begin I begin to speak from that place. Like I said, I still use a lot of scriptures when I'm talking because that's my foundation.
Right. Right.
That's what took me here. Like
Right.
the woman that had the issue of blood, she had been bleeding, you
Right.
know, and she could not conceive. But uh when she heard that Jesus was coming by, she said within herself, if I
Yes.
can touch the hem of his garment. Where did that come from? It
Right.
wasn't it
Exactly.
wasn't written it wasn't written down anywhere.
Right. If
It
I
wasn't
can,
written down anywhere.
this
She
will happen. Yeah.
Yes. Now,
Yeah.
where did that come from?
Right.
It
That came from.
flowed from within her.
Right.
And that's what gave her healing, what came from within her. So I think people, when they recognize just the treasure that they are,
That they are. Yes.
yes, when they realize the treasure that they are,
Right.
they
Right.
can take off the foolishness that have been
Right.
imposed upon them mentally and
Right.
and
Shape
walk
that
around.
identity. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
change their identity.
Imposed. That's exactly, and I use that word a lot. An
Hmm.
identity that's been imposed upon,
Hmm. Hmm.
and it has to be removed in order for you to author again.
Yes,
What important is
yes,
authorship. You must
yes.
author your path. You
Oh,
must.
yes.
Authorship comes simply by a decision. You
Hmm.
must author your path. You must author the decisions that you make. Take
Hmm.
responsibility for
Hmm.
your life. Take
Hmm.
accountability for your
Hmm.
life. And
Hmm.
uh, one of the things that I always say is that you must see results, because this is not just
Yes,
rhetoric and
yes,
dialogue
yes.
narrative. You must
Hmm.
see tangible
Results.
results,
Yes,
demonstrable result. When you say
yes.
something, is like when my own life, our life
Hmm.
is a demonstration of
Hmm.
our joy, our
Hmm.
freedom, our truth,
Evidence.
and evidence. Exactly.
Yes. Hmm.
Evidence.
Hmm.
We have had an hour of just deep dialogue. This is this is this
Has
is
it been that long already?
Yes, I know time just sneaks up on us. But Kelvin, I really want to thank you for
Hmm.
taking the time. I know that your schedule is busy, but for taking the time to join me on this broadcast and just really share, because the people that respond and ask
Mhm.
questions, and so there's so many.
Mhm.
And I want to continue something like this because people feel ostracized, they feel isolated, they
Mhm.
feel alone in this journey.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's important that they know that you are not alone. There are
Yes.
many of us that
Yes.
are walking this path of
Mhm.
self-discovery and,
Mhm.
just authoring a new way
Mhm.
of life,
Yeah.
one of freedom and of your
Mhm.
truth, because
Mhm.
your truth is what you will live authentically and
Yes. Yes.
organically.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So,
Yes.
uh, thank you, Kelvin. We will continue to chat. Don't go
Okay.
anywhere. But you know that this program is aired every Thursday,
Yes,
uh,
I do.
2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if you can't join me at that time, then of course, 24/7, you can pick it up on these icon, Facebook,
Mhm.
YouTube, and LinkedIn. And if you need to drop me a line, I am also a life coach. You can
Mhm.
always write to info at the CynthiaLinoxShow.com, and I will get back with you. And obviously, you know that everything is kept private simply because I respect the fact that some of you cannot uh, go public simply
Mhm.
because you're
Mhm.
not ready yet for your friends
Mhm.
and family to see that you are peeking in into something else. And I understand that, because there was a time that it took me a while to gain the confidence to get to where I am. And I'm
Yes.
sure, Kelvin, that's your experience as well.
Yes. Yes. But
So, yeah,
now
now you can't
I don't care.
you can't shut us up. You can't shut us up, because we know the life that we live, and
Yes.
how good that is for
Yes.
us. So anyway, hasta la vista, amigos. Enjoy a fantastic weekend coming up, whatever you do, and we will see you next week, same time, same place, right here again. So ciao. We will talk to you again. Thanks again, Kelvin.
Thank you.
You've
Thank
been
you.
remarkable.